What's up, folks? Welcome back. Today we're doing another video. We're going to be looking at the 11 hunts that were added on the January 30th patch, and this is going to be a little bit less structured than my normal videos, and that's because this is going to be more of a discussion. I'm going to talk about what they changed with each ability. We're going to go through every ability. We're going to talk about what you need to be able to beat that boss. So the first dungeon we're going to take a look at is one that I'm sure all of you are very well versed with, and that's Wyvern. So its first passive is it increases damage suffered from ice elemental heroes by 30% and increases damage dealt to non-ice element heroes by 30%. Just to clarify, that's not just fire or earth. Anything that's not a water character takes 30% more damage.
Bruh.
That's pretty big. When a non-ice elemental hero's turn ends, increases caster's combat readiness by 10%. So that, I feel like, was them taking a shot at Shuri and Flurry, two characters that I think go really well for Wyverns in general, and that's going to make them a bit more difficult to use if you do try to use them. Next, you got Dragon's Might. It's the tail swipe. It's the same. The next ability is pretty straightforward. It's super acceleration, increases attack after attacking. So this is their way of putting a time clock on the Wyvern. You can't just sit here and chip away at it and chip away at it.
You have to kill it.
And you have to kill it before it starts one-shotting your front line and then one-shotting everything else. So the next skill we have is Fireball Barrage. What this is going to do, it shoots a fireball, dispels one buff. This is incorrect text, by the way. So it dispels one buff and increases combat readiness by 10%. And it's going to do this 3 times no matter how many debuffs you have on the boss. So the only thing that happens when you get 3 debuffs, you don't need 2 anymore, you need 3, is that you get decreased damage from this attack. And it will always target your leader spot until the leader spot dies, which I think is a really awesome thing for them to do here. Them actually making tanks relevant on Wyvern, I think it's just great, because prior to, healers were always better tanks than actual tanks. And now, even though I have my healer in the front line, I learned the hard way that having your healer in the front line on Wyverns will get you murdered, because the boss is going to reduce your combat readiness by 30%. You're going to get hit for all the damage if you're not getting debuffs on it, and it's just not a fun time when your healer can't heal because they can't take turns. It's just overall not a good day. But anyway, the rest is the same. It's just gonna shield itself after 4 attacks. Also important to note, if you do debuff it, the debuffs don't go away until after the 3 hits. So some characters that I think will really shine in Wyvern 11 that didn't work very well in the previous version of Wyvern is Rose. Rose is at the top of my list just because she has AoE attack buff with combat readiness increase. It's not a big combat readiness increase, but the fact that she makes herself tanky if her health is below 50% on her skill 1, she's just, I think, an amazing add. She fills a lot of roles, especially if you don't have DN. Like a lot of us don't. I had to throw the salt in there. Next up that I think is going to do really well is Crozet. This is because Crozet is actually #1 for tankiest character in the game. Even though a lot of people think he's bad, I know his combat readiness on his skill 3 won't work for the Wyvern. That's really not why I'd bring him. I'd bring him so that he could just sit in the front line, have his passive shield proc. Also, what's really important there is attack break on his skill 1. So what you can do is just turn off his skills, sit him in the front line. Most people won't have a counter set, but if you have a counter set, just sit him in the front line and let him attack break, and just that is all he has to do. And last but not least, for characters that add some value to your team for Wyvern 11, this one's gonna be this might get some contest, but I think Dark Corvus actually might make a decent frontline for Wyvern 11. Reason being is that he's gonna stack up his skill 3 really quickly, and then when he does finally just run him slow, run him massively tanky, all the HP, don't go any speed, and then when he finally takes his attack, he will ignore damage, ignore defense, and you'll probably have like, if you have him 6-star with level 85 gear, he'll have like 20 something K HP, and you can just smack the Wyvern for like 12K with your tank. May not be the best for the slot, but he'll take a few turns, and then when he finally does take a turn, he'll do some good damage. The Wyvern has about 140k HP, so if he's smacking for 12k whenever he takes a turn, that's almost 10% of the boss's HP. So that's pretty significant. Main takeaways for Wyvern 11 are to bring an extremely tanky front line, try to run your healer as fast as possible to keep up with the boss's DPS, and also bring as few non-water heroes as you can, because every time they take a turn, or if you do have to bring them, run them extremely slow, because every time they take a turn, the boss gets 10% combat readiness. It seems like it's not that much, but when the boss is during shield phase, it adds up very quickly. Also, just remember that the boss is clocking, I think, probably about 210 speed, given that Wyvern 9 is 170, Wyvern 10 is 190. It would make sense that they would run this one at about that speed. That's going to be all for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. Planning on doing the video for the other 2 dungeons in the next couple days. I've been pretty busy with stream and work, but trying to pick that up. I'm gonna have 2 new videos coming out in the next couple days, so stay tuned and max out.